Exodus 36. So Bezalel, Aholiab, and all the other skilled men must do the work the Lord has commanded. The Lord has given these men the wisdom and understanding to do all the skilled work needed to build this holy place. Then Moses called Bezalel, Aholiab, and all the other skilled men who the Lord had given special skills to, and they came because they wanted to help with the work. Moses gave them everything the Israelites had brought as gifts, and they used these things to build the holy place. The people continued to bring gifts each morning. Finally, all the skilled workers left the work they were doing on the holy place, and they went to speak to Moses. They said, "The people have brought too much. We have more than we need to finish the work the Lord told us to do." Then Moses sent this message throughout the camp: "No man or woman should make anything else as a gift for the holy place." So the people were forced to stop giving more. The people had brought more than enough things to finish the work of the building, God's holy place. Then the skilled workers began making the holy tent. They made the 10 curtains from fine linen and blue, purple, and red yarn, and they sewed pictures of cherub angels with wings into the curtains. Each curtain was the same size, 28 cubits long and 4 cubits wide. The workers joined the curtains together into 2 groups of curtains. They joined 5 curtains together to make one group, and 5 curtains together to make the other group. Then they used blue cloth to make loops along the edge of the end curtain of one group, and they did the same on the end curtain in the other group. There were 50 loops on the end curtain in one group, and 50 loops on the end curtain in the other group. The loops were opposite each other. Then they made 50 gold rings to join the 2 curtains together, so the holy tent was joined together into one piece. Then the workers made another tent to cover the holy tent. They used goat hair to make 11 curtains. All the curtains were the same size, 30 cubits long and 4 cubits wide. The workers joined 5 curtains together into one group and 6 curtains together into another group. They put 50 loops along the edge of the end curtain of one group, and they did the same on the end curtain of the other group. The workers made 50 bronze rings to join the 2 groups of curtains together to form one tent. Then they made 2 more coverings for the holy tent. One covering was made from ram skins dyed red. The other covering was made from fine leather. Then the workers made frames from acacia wood to support the holy tent. Each frame was 10 cubits long and 1.5 cubits wide. There were 2 side poles joined together with cross pieces to make each frame. Every frame for the holy tent was made the same. They made 20 frames for the south side of the holy tent. Then they made 40 silver bases for the frames. There were 2 bases for each frame, 1 base for each side pole. They also made 20 frames for the other side, the north side of the holy tent. They made 40 silver bases for the frames, 2 bases for each frame. They made 6 more frames for the back, the west side, of the holy tent. They also made 2 frames for the corners of the back of the holy tent. These frames were joined together at the bottom, and at the top a ring held the corner frames together. They did the same for both corners. There were 8 frames for the west side of the holy tent, and there were 16 silver bases, 2 bases for each frame. Then the workers used acacia wood to make the braces for the frames. 5 braces for the first side of the holy tent, 5 braces for the other side, and 5 braces for the back of the holy tent. They made the middle brace so that it passed through the frames from one end to the other. They covered these frames with gold. Then they used the gold to make the rings to hold the braces, and they covered the braces with gold. They used fine linen and blue, purple, and red yarn to make the special curtain for the entrance to the most holy place, and they sewed pictures of cherub angels into the curtain. They made 4 posts using acacia wood, and they covered the posts with gold. Then they made gold hooks for the posts and 4 silver bases for the posts. Then they made the curtain to cover the entrance to the tent. They used blue, purple, and red yarn and fine linen to make this curtain, and they wove pictures into it. Then they made the 5 posts and the hook for this curtain over the entrance. They covered the tops of the posts and the curtain rods with gold, and they made the 5 bronze bases for the posts. Exodus 37. Bezalel made the holy box from acacia wood. The box was 2.5 cubits long, 1.5 cubits wide, and 1.5 cubits high. He covered the inside and outside of the box with pure gold. Then he put gold trim around the box. He made 4 rings of gold and put them on the 4 corners. These rings were used for carrying the box. There were 2 rings on each side. Then he made the poles for carrying the box. He used acacia wood and covered the poles with pure gold. He put the poles through the rings on each side of the box. Then he made the mercy cover from pure gold. It was 2.5 cubits long and 1.5 cubits wide. Then Bezalel hammered gold to make 2 cherub angels. He put the cherub angels on each end of the mercy cover. He put one angel on one end and the other angel on the other end. The angels were joined together with the mercy cover to make one piece. The wings of the angels were spread up toward the sky. The angels covered the box with their wings and faced each other, looking towards the mercy cover. Then he made the table from acacia wood. The table was 2 cubits long, 1 cubit wide, and 1.5 cubits high. He covered it with pure gold and put gold trim around it. Then he made a frame 1 handbreadth wide around the table. He put gold trim on the frame. Then he made 4 gold rings and put them at the 4 corners of the table, where the 4 legs were. He put the rings close to the frame. The rings were to hold the poles used to carry the table. Then he used acacia wood to make the poles for carrying the table. He covered the poles with pure gold. Then he made everything that was used on the table. He made the plates, the spoons, the bowls, and the pitchers from pure gold. The bowls and pitchers are used for pouring the drink offerings. Then he made the lampstand. He used pure gold and hammered it to make the base and the shaft. Then he made flowers, buds, and petals, and joined everything together into one piece. The lampstand had 6 branches, 3 branches on one side and 3 branches on the other side. Each branch had 3 flowers on it. These flowers were made like almond flowers with buds and petals. The shaft of the lampstand had 4 more flowers. They were also made like almond flowers with buds and petals. There were 6 branches, 3 branches coming out from each side of the shaft, and there was a flower with buds and petals below each of the 3 places where the branches joined the shaft. The whole lampstand, with the flowers and branches, was made from pure gold. All this gold was hammered and joined together into one piece. He made 7 lamps for this lampstand. Then he made lamp snuffers and trays from pure gold. He used 75 pounds of pure gold to make the lampstand and the things used with it. He made the altar for burning incense from acacia wood. The altar was square. It was 1 cubit long, 1 cubit wide, and 2 cubits high. There were 4 horns on the altar. There was 1 horn on each corner. These horns were joined together with the altar to make one piece. He covered the top, all the sides, and the horns with pure gold. Then he put gold trim around the altar. He made 2 gold rings for the altar. He put the gold rings below the trim on each side of the altar. These gold rings held the poles for carrying the altar. He made the poles from acacia wood and covered them with gold. Then he made the holy anointing oil. He also made the pure, sweet-smelling incense. These things were made the same way that a perfume maker would make them. Exodus 38. There it goes. Then Bezalel used acacia wood to build the altar. This was the altar used for burning offerings. The altar was square. It was 5 cubits long, 5 cubits wide, and 3 cubits high. He made a horn for each of the 4 corners of the altar. He joined each horn to its corner so that everything was one piece. He covered the altar with bronze. Then he used bronze to make all the tools to be made on the altar. Woo. Then he used bronze to make all the tools to be used on the altar. He made the pots, shovels, bowls, forks, and pans. Then he made a bronze grating for the altar. This grating was shaped like a net. The grating was put under the ledge at the bottom of the altar. It went halfway up into the altar from below. Then he made bronze rings to hold the poles for carrying the altar. He put the rings at the four corners of the grating. Then he used acacia wood to make the poles and covered them with bronze. He put the poles through the rings on the side of the altar to carry it. He used boards to make the sides of the altar. It was hollow, like an empty box. He made the bowl and its base with bronze. He used the bronze mirrors that the women gave. These were the women who served at the entrance to the meeting tent. Then he made a wall of curtains around the courtyard. On the south side, he made a wall of curtains 100 cubits long. The curtains were made from fine linen. The curtains on the south side were supported by 20 posts. The posts were 20 bronze bases. The hooks for the posts and the curtain rods were made from silver. The north side of the courtyard also had a wall of curtains 100 cubits long. There were 20 posts with 20 bronze bases. The hooks for the posts and the curtains were made from silver. On the west side of the courtyard, the wall of curtains was 50 cubits long. Excuse me. There were 10 posts and 10 bases. The hooks for the posts and the curtains were made from silver. The east side of the courtyard was 50 cubits wide. The entrance to the courtyard was on this side. On one side of the entrance, the wall of curtains was 15 cubits long. There were 3 posts and 3 bases on this side. The wall of curtains on the other side of the entrance was also 15 cubits long. There were 3 posts and 3 bases on that side. All the curtains around the courtyard were made from fine linen. The bases for the posts were made from bronze. The hooks and the curtain rods were made from silver. The tops of the posts were covered with silver also. All the posts in the courtyard had silver curtain rods. The curtain from the entrance of the courtyard was made from fine linen and blue, purple, and red yarn. Designs were woven into that curtain. The curtain was 20 cubits long and 5 cubits high. It was the same height as the curtains around the courtyard. The curtain was supported by 4 posts and 4 bronze bases. The hooks on the posts were made from silver. The tops on the posts were covered with silver, and the curtain rods also made from silver. All the tent pegs for the holy tent and for the curtains around the courtyard were made from bronze. Moses commanded the Levites to write down everything that was used to make the holy tent, that is, the tent of the agreement. Ithamar, son of Aaron, was in charge of keeping the list. Bezalel, son of Uri, the son of Hur, from the tribe of Judah, made everything the Lord commanded Moses. Also, Oholiab, son of Ahisamach, from the tribe of Dan, helped him. Oholiab was a skilled worker and designer. He was skilled at weaving fine linen and blue, purple, and red yarn. The people gave over a ton of gold as offering to the Lord for his holy place. This was weighed using the official measure. All the men 20 years old or older were counted. Each man had to pay a tax of 1 beka of silver. Using the official measure, 1 beka is 1/2 shekel. There were 603,550 men, so they collected about 7,550 pounds of silver. They used most of the silver to make 100 bases for the holy tent and its curtains, 75 pounds for each base. They used the remaining 44 pounds of silver to make the hooks, the curtain rods, and the silver covers for the posts. They gave more than 2.5 tons of bronze. That bronze was used to make the bases at the entrance of the meeting tent. They also used the bronze to make the altar and the bronze grating, and the bronze was used to make all the tools and dishes for the altar. It was also used to make the bases for the curtains around the courtyard, and the bases for the curtains at the entrance, and the bronze was used to make the tent pegs for the holy tent and for the curtains around the courtyard. Exodus 39. Did it again, darn it. There it goes. I don't know why it does that. Anyway, 39. The workers used the blue, purple, and red yarn to make special clothes for the priests to wear when they served in the holy place. They also made the special clothes for Aaron as the Lord had commanded Moses. They made the ephod from gold thread, fine linen, and blue, purple, and red yarn. They hammered the gold into thin strips and cut the gold into long threads. They wove the gold into the blue, purple, and red yarn and fine linen. This was the work of a very skilled person. They made the shoulder pieces for the ephod. They tied these shoulder pieces to the two corners of the ephod. They wove the cloth belt and fastened it to the ephod. It was made the same way as the ephod. They used gold thread, fine linen, and blue, purple, and red yarn, just as the Lord commanded Moses. The workers put the onyx stones for the ephod in gold settings. They wrote the names of the sons of Israel on these stones. Then they put these jewels on the shoulder pieces of the ephod. These jewels were to help God to remember the Israelites. This was done as the Lord commanded Moses. Then they made the judgment pouch. It was the work of a skilled person, just like the ephod. It was made from gold threads, fine linen, and blue, purple, and red yarn. The judgment pouch was folded in half to make a square pocket. It was 1 span long and 1 span wide. Then the workers put 4 rows of beautiful jewels on the judgment pouch. The first row had a ruby, a topaz, and a beryl. The second row had a turquoise, a sapphire, and an emerald. The third row had a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. Amethyst. The fourth row had a chrysolite, an onyx, and a jasper. All these jewels were set in gold. There were 12 jewels on the judgment pouch, 1 jewel for each of the sons of Israel. Each son had the name of one of the sons of Israel carved onto it, like a seal. The workers made 2 chains from pure gold from the judgment pouch. The chains were braided like a rope. The workers made 2 gold rings and fastened them to 2 corners of the judgment pouch. Then they made 2 gold settings for the shoulder pieces. They fastened the gold chains to the rings at the corners of the judgment pouch. They fastened the other ends of the gold chains to the setting on the shoulder pieces. They fastened these to the front of the ephod. Then they made 2 more gold rings and put them on the other 2 corners of the judgment pouch. This was on the inside edge of the judgment pouch next to the ephod. They also put 2 gold rings on the bottom of the shoulder pieces on the front of the ephod. These rings were near the fastener, just above the cloth belt. Then they used a blue ribbon and tied the rings of the judgment pouch to the rings of the ephod. In this way, the judgment pouch would rest close to the cloth belt and would be held tight against the ephod. They did everything just as the Lord commanded. Then they made the robe for the ephod from blue cloth. It was woven by a skilled worker. They made a hole in the center of the robe and sewed a piece of cloth around the edge of this hole. This cloth kept the hole from tearing. Then they used fine linen and blue, purple, and red yarn to make the cloth pomegranates. They hung these pomegranates around the bottom edge of the robe. Then they made bells from pure gold. They hung these bells around the bottom edge of the robe between the pomegranates. Around the bottom edge of the robe there were bells and pomegranates. There was a bell following each pomegranate. This robe was for the priest to wear when he served the Lord. It was made just as the Lord commanded Moses. Skilled workers wove shirts for Aaron and his sons. These shirts were made from fine linen, and the workers made a turban of fine linen. They also used fine linen to make a cloth. To make cloth caps and underclothes. Then they made the cloth belt from the fine linen and blue, purple, and red yarn. Designs were sewn into the cloth. These things were made as the Lord had commanded Moses. Then they made a strip of pure gold for the holy crown. They carved these words into the gold like the writing on a seal, "Holy to the Lord." They fastened the gold strip to a blue ribbon. Then they tied the blue ribbon around the turban like the Lord had commanded Moses. So all the work on the holy tent, that is, the meeting tent, was finished. The Israelites did everything just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Then they showed the holy tent and everything in it to Moses. They showed him the rings, the frames, the braces, the posts, and the bases. They showed him the covering of the tent that was made from ram skins dyed red, and the covering that was made from fine leather. And they showed him the curtain that covered the entrance to the most holy place. They showed Moses the box of agreement, the poles used for carrying it, and the mercy cover. They showed him the table with everything on it and the special bread. They showed him the pure gold lampstand and the lamps on it, the oil, and all the other things that were used with the lamps. They showed Moses the golden altar, the anointing oil, the sweet-smelling incense, and the curtain that covered the entrance to the tent. They showed him the bronze altar and the bronze screen, the poles used for carrying the altar, and everything that was used on the altar. They showed him the bowl, the base, under the bowl. They showed Moses the wall of curtain around the courtyard with the posts and bases. They showed him the curtain that covered the entrance to the courtyard. They showed him the ropes and the tent pegs. They showed him everything in the holy tent, that is the meeting tent. Then they showed Moses the clothes that were made for the priests serving in the holy area. They showed him the special clothes for Aaron, the priest, and his sons to wear when they served as priests. The Israelites did all this work exactly as the Lord had commanded Moses. Moses looked closely at all the work and saw that it was done exactly as the Lord had commanded. So Moses blessed them. I'll go ahead and stop there. I'm running out of space again. Till next time.